Am I the a-hole for going to my ex's wedding pregnant? I, 32 female, have a daughter, 7 female with my ex, 33 male. Last weekend, he remarried to his new partner. Our split wasn't a good one as he cheated on me and admitted it literally 1 week before we were supposed to get married 5 years ago, leading me to losing almost $15,000 in deposits. As a result, we don't talk very much. He doesn't have any custody of our daughter as she is autistic and has problems with large groups of people, loud noises, and bright lights, and he has put her in situations before where she has had breakdowns. He has supervised visitation. We normally have an arrangement with a wonderful nanny who goes with our daughter to his family events, so I don't have to go. We split the cost for this 50-50. Unfortunately, the nanny broke her ankle 4 days before the wedding and was unable to go. The only suitably experienced replacement we could find was double the price due to short notice, and my ex refused to pay half, instead insisting I go or I pay the difference. I refused to pay the difference because I'm not currently working, just started maternity leave at 8 months pregnant, so was forced to go or risk traumatizing our daughter. My ex did not know I was this far advanced in my pregnancy. He knew I was pregnant. At the wedding, multiple family members of his and mutual friends of ours came up to ask me about the baby and who I was with, my now husband of 2 years. I brushed them off as much as possible, largely because I wanted to focus on our daughter's comfort, but also because I didn't want to be accused of scene stealing. Unfortunately, this has happened anyway. My ex called me up on Monday to blow up about how I ruined his wedding deliberately as payback for him ruining ours. I denied this and pointed out that it all could have been avoided had he paid the extra for the nanny, but he hung up on me and is now putting me on blast all over social media. Was I the a-hole for going? Now for the top comments. I suspect that your ex wanted you to come to the wedding, so you'd have to see him enjoying the wedding day he robbed you of so many years ago. Instead, your pregnancy generated a lot of sympathy from his friends and family. He sounds vile. My sympathies for his new wife. Not the a-hole. Seriously, Obi sounds way better off not marrying that a-hole. You're a damn evil genius is what you are. 5 years ago, the planning began. After he destroyed your wedding, you knew one day you would have your revenge. You carefully chose and ensnared the perfect replacement husband, chosen specifically for his fertility. Then spending the intervening years carefully monitoring ovulation, you conceived at exactly the right moment to be far enough along at his wedding to steal the spotlight, but not so far along that you risked going into labor. Once phase 1 of your plan was complete, all that was left is to break your nanny's ankle. From there, everything fell neatly into place. Seriously, not the a-hole. Ex is a doorknob. It is big mad because he didn't think things through. Not your fault. Congrats on your revenge happily ever after. Been a long time since I've seen such a well-crafted evil plan. He told you to pay full price or attend. You chose to attend. He doesn't get to be pissy that you attended. Not the a-hole. If he's assuming this about him ruining the original wedding, then he's admitting he's an a-hole. He's right on that. Not the a-hole. And if having this child's mother appear visibly pregnant at his wedding ruined it, then it was probably a pretty horrible wedding to begin with. No, the person who ruined the wedding was your ex, with his weird attitude. Why was he even looking at you? He could have just, look at his bride instead. What does he even think a wedding is? Sounds like there might be more than one reason he doesn't have custody. Completely self-centered people don't make good parents. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my fiancé the family ring as an engagement ring? I, 27 male, have a sad and hurt fiancé, 29 female, over a hypothetical situation and need an outside perspective. Backstory. My great-grandmother was the product of an affair between her mother and her boss. Because he was already married and my great-grandmother was biracial, she was never acknowledged. It wasn't until her father was on his deathbed, his wife had already passed before him, that he gave her his mother's ring, and finally gave her the recognition she always craved. She loved that ring, and since then, it's been a prized possession in the family. My aunt was the only girl in the family, after my grandmother died, and doesn't have any children of her own. She told me that she would like to continue the tradition of passing this ring along to the next female generation, and said that she would hang on to it until I decided to give it to someone really special in my life. It didn't explicitly mean to give it to my future wife, but my aunt let me know that it was an option. Fast forward to now, and I proposed to my live-in girlfriend of 3 years. In the past, I had considered giving her the ring, but decided against because while I love her, she is a bit of an irresponsible airhead. It's not malicious or blatant lack of care, but she does have a habit of losing, damaging, or misplacing things. I'd much rather give the ring to a future, responsible daughter instead, and just ended up proposing with a $4,000 ring. My girlfriend loved the ring and was so proud of finding a guy who knew what she liked. Since we were in the early stages, my girlfriend was still in the habit of showing it off. Unfortunately, she lost it. And when I say lost, I mean she accidentally dropped it down the elevator shaft when she was showing it off to a coworker. My girlfriend was distraught and was almost too ashamed to tell. I told her that while I was upset, that I didn't hate her and would get her a replacement. She was so grateful and didn't care that the replacement ring was a lot cheaper and was happily showing this one off as much as the other one. My fiancé made a big post, and then all hell broke loose when a cousin of mine, paternal side, asked why I didn't just give her the maternal side family ring, since it had such great sentimental value. Now, my fiancé knew about the ring, but assumed that my aunt would take it with her to the grave. She didn't know that giving it to her was an option and asked about it. I tried to say that I would rather give it to our future daughter, but she countered that by giving it to her. It didn't mean that our future daughter wouldn't get it later. After enough pushing, I finally admitted my concerns about potentially losing the ring. My fiancé was very hurt by this, and while she hasn't said anything directly, she's sulking, and I've even heard her cry about it. Her sister's calling me jackass for refusing to give my fiancé the ring, and says that she just make mistakes. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add, yes, we did contact management about getting the ring from the bottom of the elevator shaft, but it couldn't be located. My fiancé stated that it was dropped when the doors were opening/closing, and her co-workers backed up her story. Yes, the ring was properly sized at the time she showed it off to a co-worker. However, she took it off to show the inscription inside. Yes, the ring was insured, and we used that money to get her a new one. Dude, she did exactly what you thought she would, except it could have been the family ring down the elevator shaft. Not the a-hole. Exactly. It's like, babe, I'm sorry, but you kinda did prove my point. But then I would expect that not to go down well. Not the a-hole. It would go down about as well as a $4,000 engagement ring down an elevator shaft, frankly. Not the a-hole. I would say you were the a-hole, but she literally lost her engagement ring. But even if she didn't tend to lose things, we're talking about a 150-year-old ring with enormous sentimental value on top of the actual monetary and historical value. That stuff is going in a fireproof safe. I don't know why anyone would even want to wear something like that regularly. I'd be living in constant fear of something happening to it. Not the a-hole. Your cousin and her sister are. Make sure all rings are insured. Not the a-hole. She already lost an expensive ring. I wouldn't trust her with a sentimental family heirloom ring. Put it away for a future daughter or granddaughter who doesn't inherit your girlfriend's butterfingers. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for leaving my brother's wedding reception early? My 35 male brother set his wedding date on Halloween, which was also my youngest son's 4th birthday. I was asked to be a groomsman, but I was transparent and told my brother and sister-in-law that I would accept, but also we probably wouldn't stay for the whole reception. My sons, 4 and 7, still wanted to dress up, go trick-or-treating, and have their neighborhood kid friends over for a small Halloween birthday party after. Weirdly, my brother and sister-in-law never really acknowledged that I said we'd be leaving early, and I said it more than once over the months after they set the date. They always just kinda skirted around the topic, so I said screw it. If it was a problem, they'd say something. My wife was nervous about this. She agreed we'd leave, but still felt guilty. I, however, did not. They planned their wedding on a holiday and on their nephew's birthday. They had to have expected this, and I was sure we wouldn't be the only ones with kids leaving early. Day of the wedding, my mom pulls me aside and asks, "Are you sure you want to leave the reception early?" I think Kate, sister-in-law, has a cake for son, and she's expecting that you guys won't leave. I told her, no, we're still leaving. We'll be there for the ceremony, all the pictures, and at the reception for about an hour or so, but we're still giving our son his day. If they got a cake for my son, this was never communicated with us, even though we said multiple times we weren't staying for the entire reception. They just assumed this would make us stay. So that's what we did. We left right after the cake cutting and yeah, they had a small personal-sized cake for my son and everyone sang happy birthday to him before their cake cutting. It was very sweet and I was grateful. Recently, we've visited for my mom's birthday and my brother and his wife didn't come by, but I figured it was because of them not being vaccinated. Apparently not. According to my parents and sister, they're upset about us leaving their reception early. Apparently, I was supposed to stay and help them clean up like all the groomsmen/bridesmaids were. This was also never communicated with me. Also, my sister-in-law told my sister after the reception that my son's having to miss trick-or-treating 1 year shouldn't have been a big deal, and that we could have had a birthday party any other day. I haven't had a chance to talk to them, but I'm also not totally sorry. I'm sorry their feelings are hurt. That was not my goal, but feel like I communicated and compromised pretty well and they never said that it was an issue. If it was, I would have backed out of being a groomsman, but I doubt I would have stayed for the entire reception. My kids come first, period. If their wedding was any other day, I would have stayed for the entire reception. I might be the a-hole because he's my only brother, and I left what might be his only wedding early. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Ignoring someone is not a form of conflict resolution. If they had an issue with your plans to leave early, they could have and should have addressed it much sooner instead of buying a cake for your son without communicating at all. That's some passive-aggressive nonsense right there. If they can't talk about it with OP directly, and this is all secondhand gossip from others, I would ignore all the talk and carry on as if everything is normal. If they can't be honest with OP and they prefer to talk behind their back, that says a lot about their character. If pressed by anyone, I'd reply I'm shocked that anyone would be upset with a 4-year-old for celebrating his birthday, and flip it back on them. Yeah, at 4 years old, it's possible this would be the first birthday where the son actually understands that his birthday is coming up and wants to pick what they do to celebrate it. Can you imagine telling a kid that age, no, we can't do the once-in-a-year event you want to do for your birthday. We have to go to Uncle's adult party all night and help him clean up afterwards. Not day haul. 1. Halloween is major holiday depending on where you are. 2. It's your son's birthday. Your brother knew this for some years. 3. You gave him a warning ahead of time that you wouldn't stay for the entire wedding to celebrate your boy and Halloween. I got married on Halloween a few years ago, but made it clear that if guests didn't want to come for any reason, we were fine with that. Honestly, the wedding only really matters to the people getting married, and these long events can be an imposition. Not day haul. You told them multiple times you were going to leave early. They chose to ignore this and then try to make you stay via mom and son's cake. It's sneaky and manipulative. The only people a wedding really matters to is the folks getting married. For everyone else, it's just another event they have to plan for. Sure, your sons could miss a Halloween, but why? Because the couple are selfish? Trick-or-treating is one of those things there's a hard cap on. After a certain age, it's gone. Last story is titled, Would I be the a-hole if I have my brother walk me down the aisle, knowing it would hurt feelings? This is a conflict I had with my mom recently that I need to figure out where I'm placed in this. So I, 26 female, have an older brother, Sean, 33 male, and half-brother Cody, 14 male. Mine and Sean's dad died when I was 8 and he was 15. Our mom remarried to Jack 2 years later. Sean never really cared much to have a relationship with Jack. It was civil when he still lived at home, but once he was gone, he didn't really choose to build a relationship with Jack. And he has always been okay with Cody, but definitely treats us very different. So I have a very close relationship with Sean. He was my favorite person as a kid, and when our dad died, I looked up to him so much more because he is so like our dad, from appearance to personality. With Cody, I do love him, but if I'm being honest, it is nowhere near the same as the bond I have with Sean. I treat them both like just my brothers though, and I try not to use half-brother around Cody. There is conflict between Sean and our mom and Jack. They don't understand why he wouldn't be happy another man came in and stepped up and loved everyone and want to treat him with the same love and respect he gave our dad. Jack and I get along okay, but I do not consider him my dad. And I do sometimes hate how he expects the same kind of love as I have always had from my dad. And he did admit in family therapy on 3 separate occasions that he genuinely expected me to love him the same and see him as my new dad. My mom also expected more or less the same and admitted it. But she said she would be okay with just allowing him the same respect and role in my life. I got engaged a couple of weeks ago, and my first instinct was to ask Sean to walk me down the aisle and to do a special dance with me to honor our dad. My mom jumped in before I said anything and asked me what I was planning, and I told her. She told me that would hurt Jack and Cody's feelings. That a better option if I won't ask Jack would be to ask Cody, since he's also my brother, and would be a tie to Jack. I told her I wanted a tie to my dad and the brother I have that connection with. She told me that since Sean couldn't even treat Cody the same, it would be wrong to shun his dad and then have this elevated role for the brother who doesn't treat him the same as his sister. She told me I would be selfish and cruel if I asked someone who has been against family harmony and who treats family members, especially kids, like they are lesser members of the family. And while I still, deep in my heart, want Sean, I know she's right and it will hurt feelings, especially Cody's, because it does upset him that Sean doesn't make the same effort with him as it does me. So my question is, would I be the a-hole if I ask Sean, knowing that it will hurt feelings? The other option which I'm kind of considering is walking alone or with my fiancé, but he wanted to enter with his sister/best woman. Not the a-hole. I would think an older brother walking a bride down the aisle is much more typical than having a younger teen brother walk you. A 14-year-old walking someone down the aisle is kinda weird. He's a bit too young to give away the bride, if this makes sense. I presume Opie wants to keep the tradition. It's not mandatory to do this, it's true, but everyone has their own choices. I would propose a compromise to involve the kids somehow, but not that. Maybe part of the entourage? Maybe an attendant. I could even see a teen being the ring bearer as well, somewhat like a mini groom with a responsibility. I guess Jack will already be a part of the ceremony as stepdad. Maybe the father-daughter dance can be with him? With a few compromises, as long as they're willing to do so, everyone can be happy somehow. Well, in reality, Opie shouldn't have to compromise with stuff like the father-daughter dance and such. Now, it would make some sense to make the younger brother a ring bearer or something. Not the a-hole. This is your wedding. Your wedding day, and you should be allowed to do what you want. Your mom and Jack can't accept the fact that neither you nor Sean has accepted Jack as a replacement dad. You don't treat him like your father because you don't see him as your father. You see Cody as a sibling, but not like you do Sean. You two have had a longer time together and a different bond than you do with Cody. It's the same for Sean. Sean has been there for you. If you want him to walk you down the aisle, you should ask him. Jack has to get over the fact that you're never going to see him as your father. Cody has learned that your relationship with him is different than the one with Sean, because you two have been together so much longer. Don't let someone use emotional manipulation to get you to do something for your wedding that you don't want to do. How do you think Sean will feel if Jack or Cody walks you down the aisle? I think you're going to have hurt feelings no matter what you choose to do. Do what you want for your wedding. Not the a-hole. Have Sean walk you down the aisle and suggest your mom and stepdad have a talk with their therapist. Their idea of family harmony is that their feelings are more important than anyone else's. Tell them they can watch Sean walk you down the aisle and enjoy the moment for the two of you and be happy. Or they can look at your photo album after. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-wife's fiancé the truth about our divorce? My 33 male ex-wife, 30 female, and I got divorced 3 years ago. In college, we worked at the same restaurant. That's where we met. We were together for 7 years and married for a little over 3.5. We divorced because she cheated, twice. 2 years into our marriage, I discover she's having an affair with a former classmate. I collect enough evidence and confront her. She confesses everything. The affair was about 2 months long. This was a really terrible time and was really hard to work through with her. You can call me an idiot, but I'm a forgiving person. I do believe in second chances and that people can change. We agreed to reconcile. We did the work. We had marriage counseling. We read some of the books. She went no contact with classmates right away. Open phone policy. We told our parents. She was doing the right things and our relationship was recovering. 1 year into our reconciliation, her aunt dies. I am very busy with work and cannot attend the services, as they are on Thursday and Friday back in her hometown 5 hours away. Her parents and brother no longer live there, so she stayed with a good friend from high school. I had met this friend a few times and was comfortable with that. On Saturday morning, my wife texted me that a car was loaded and she was about to start making the drive home. About an hour after that, I got a Facebook message from the friend, who stated she wouldn't be able to live with herself if she just let this go, but informed me that my wife had gone out Friday night with some old friends from high school. The friend thought nothing of this until she discovered my wife had left her phone behind and that she didn't come back until the following morning. I had gotten a text that Friday night from my wife that she was going to bed early since the past few days had been emotionally draining. I confronted my wife as soon as she got home. She was really hesitant to tell me anything, so I lied to her and told her that if we were going to work through this, I needed to know everything like the last time. That got her to confess that she had gone out and had gone home with an old friend from high school. She said they didn't have sex, but did do stuff that I won't go into detail about here. It didn't matter. Once I got enough of the truth, I left for my parents' house. That week, my dad called my landlord and paid all the termination fees and got me out of the lease. We went and got my stuff while she was at work. My parents then set me up with a friend of theirs that was a divorce attorney, and he cut me a deal. Took about 7 months for divorce to go final. That was 3 years ago. I have an awesome girlfriend and I'm doing well. This past weekend, I got a Facebook message from a guy who is now engaged to my ex-wife. He introduced himself and said he was probably just being crazy, but he wanted to know why we had gotten divorced. He said he had broached the subject a few times, and she always gets weird. She had told him we had divorced because we grew apart, but mostly she just deflects, or is really, really vague. I told him the truth and offered evidence if he would like. He declined and thanked me for my time and story. A day later, I get a phone call from a local but unknown number. I answer and it's my ex-wife. She is really upset at asking me why I'm trying to ruin her future. I get her to come down and talk. She says her fiancé has asked for some space and is staying with his parents this week. That he is saying he needs to reevaluate their relationship. She wants to know why I told him all about our past and why I'm still punishing her. She tells me she's not that person anymore and has done all this work and been in therapy. That she deserves another chance and I'm being petty and hateful. There were a few generic insults thrown. I got a little mad and told her if she really changed for the better, she would have been upfront with him about her/our past and owned up to cheating in her prior marriage. And then gone about showing her fiancé that she was ready to be a worthy partner to him and like she was with me. Instead, she tried to lie and hide the truth, and now it's blowing up in her face again. She said a few choice words and hung up. I haven't heard anything since. I told my girlfriend and she reassured how I handled it. But I find myself feeling guilty. I still believe in second chances and that people can change. While I would have felt wrong lying to the guy, I wonder if I should have handled the whole thing differently or just not responded. If she is truly different and this is just a blip, I don't want to be the thing that prevents her from finding happiness, but also believe I'm not what's hurting her engagement. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. He wouldn't have reached out if he didn't see any red flags. I think this is the answer. There is a reason he sought OP out. He clearly had concerns about the relationship. OP, I don't think you're in the wrong. I think your response to both your ex and her fiancé were correct. Hopefully, your ex will learn to truly do the work and find a way to be honest with her current fiancé or future relationships if this one decides he can't stick with her. Not a-hole. Yes, exactly. Also, if she had changed, she would have been honest about it. But instead, she was cagey and lying, which is the exact same behavior as when she cheated. So no, she isn't a different person. She hasn't changed in one iota. Not the a-hole. I'm like you. I would feel guilty because at a glance, it seems like being honest about your experience caused your ex to potentially lose your relationship. However, you are holding yourself accountable for someone else's actions. Your ex cheated. Your ex withheld information from her current partner. Your ex is still avoiding accountability. You are not responsible for her actions. Anything that happens in her relationship is her problem, not yours. Thank you for this. I got to remind myself of that. I hate causing others pain, so I'm glad to hear from someone who can relate. She made choices. You simply answer the question honestly. Do deserves the facts. Focus on him, not her. Her actions then and now caused her pain, not you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not willing my house to my girlfriend after she put her house up for sale when moving in with me? I, male 53, was married for 20 years, and my wife passed away 4 years ago. We had no children, so many years ago we both did our wills. In our wills, we gave each other everything, and if we both died, then everything would go to my wife's nieces and nephews. I have no living relatives. One of the reasons I did this was because my wife's parents had some money, and my wife inherited several $1,000,000 from them. One of the things we did with her inheritance was we bought our dream house. It's a big house, about 4,500 square feet, and has a 1,500 square foot garage out of the country. About a year ago, I met Samantha, 55 female. She has her own house, but she would always come over to my house and spend the night. We got to talking, and I said she could move in with me. Samantha has a daughter who is 25 and asked if she could move in too. My basement is pretty big, with a small kitchen and a few extra bedrooms, etc., so I didn't mind. Samantha is in the process of selling her house, and she asked me if I would put in my will that she would get my house if I died. I told her, no, that was from my in-laws' money, and that should go all to my nieces and nephews as it says in my will. Samantha argues that if I die and she has no house, she will have no place to live. I told her, yeah, you get the money from the sale of your house, plus you won't have a mortgage payment. So take that money and put it in a money market account. I was pretty put off by this conversation because from my point of view, Samantha would have zero expenses and she could put all her money into savings, minus whatever she wants to buy herself. Not like she doesn't have a job. We got heated over this conversation and Samantha said that I was trying to control her with money. When she said that, I told her that maybe this relationship wasn't such a good idea. So am I the a-hole here? Not the a-hole. I would tell Samantha that you aren't being controlling, you aren't asking for any of her money, and you ask that she does the same of you. If this is a problem, then she shouldn't sell her house and live with you. You were just setting the expectation that your house will go to your late wife's family. Samantha should not sell her house honestly. If I were in her shoes, I would turn it into a rental property or let the daughter live there for at least a year before selling. This OP. Girlfriend needs to keep her house and rent it to her daughter or another tenant. She is in no way entitled to inherit a house purchased with money belonging to your deceased wife and her family, which you wanted left to them at OP's passing. You may or may not be surprised to know how often this scenario sets up this way. I'm actually surprised your wife's attorney didn't insist upon making sure your joint wills didn't set in stone as soon as she passed. My parents did their wills that way after watching multiple second wives of friends inherit all of the first wife's estates, cutting out the first wife's children entirely. My friend's dad remarried after her mom died. Her parents had an agreement that mom's half of everything would go to their kids. Her dad changed his will, so everything would go to the new wife, even her mom's jewelry. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband he can't divorce me and still consider himself my daughter's stepdad? My 42 female 16-year-old daughter is not my husband's biological daughter. Her dad decided after I got pregnant that the mom of his child wasn't the woman he wanted to marry and is not in her life. It was just me and my daughter for the next 7 years until I married my husband. We had 3 kids in quick succession after we got married. There are now 8 male, 7 female, and 5 female. I recently found out I was pregnant, and that has made my marriage worse. My daughter's dad first lived off of others giving him money to be an equestrian. He later, I found out, started getting hired as riding instructor / helped others take care of their horses. His inconsistent income / 1099 status was what he used to dodge his financial responsibilities. I started my daughter on this path as a hobby, but it was clear that she was talented. I would work a second job as a stable aide so that she could afford lessons, would drive other kids to and from lessons, and do other odd jobs to put towards her training expenses, until I married my husband and became a stay-at-home mom. My husband was very supportive of her pursuit until she entered high school. We were looking into possible future scholarships, which I understand are rare, to come out of her competing, or college with equestrian programs. My husband started lying about how my daughter did not want to do this, and how he loves her more than me because he understands her better. He embarrassed me by complaining about the other moms whose kids competed, saying they were snobs or that he didn't want me to try to fit in with them or get their approval. Then he'd complain to parents about the new group lesson costs, etc. I found out I was pregnant and went with my daughter to an event and got too sick and tired to attend a school open house, and he flipped out on me when he came home. We got into a fight, and he told me that this isn't working out. I feel he says that to scare me, but I was not scared of divorce because I'm not going to grovel for his approval, and I can make it work without him. I told him I'll happily grant his divorce. He then says he wants joint custody of all the kids. I told him that legally he has no grounds with my daughter. He says she can still come to his place when he has the other kids, and I remind him she doesn't have a license and I don't owe him any agreement to drive her to his place. He screams, "She is my stepdaughter. I've been her dad." I told him he cannot just want to divorce his pregnant wife and get the benefits of that, including my general cooperation with his divorce, and still claim the title of my daughter's stepdad. He can't have his cake and eat it too. Legally, I am in the right, since I never adopted her. He does not want to support my 16-year-old's goals. With a divorce, he doesn't have the responsibility that being an equestrian parent entails. All her bills will be coming out of my account. But that means he cannot just continue to enjoy all the benefits of that without any of the responsibility. I don't think that's fair. I told my daughter that her stepdad wants a divorce because he absolutely hates paying for her lessons. Says they are making her into a snob like me and the other moms. She's a people pleaser, so should say yes to seeing him just to not hurt his feelings. But she has said that if he really hates her because she wants to be an equestrian, then she just wants to continue her passion. And it seems most conducive to do so where she's living with me and not seeing somebody who actively wants to stop her future dreams. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. It sounds like you're weaponizing your daughter because your husband wants a divorce. Has he actually said these things about her and her lessons? Something seems a bit off with the story. That's what I took away from this post. My daughter has an expensive hobby. My husband can't afford it, so I'm divorcing him and refuse to let him see the daughter he raised. To make it easier for her to hate him, I am blaming the divorce on my husband not wanting to support her. If you want to pay for your daughter so bad, then get a job to pay for her hobby and stop blaming your husband to alienate him from your daughter. He raised her and he wants custody of her. Are you going to divorce him and tell your daughter, well, it looks like none of your fathers love you. At least your siblings have a father. I'm sure that will work out great for her well-being and mental health. Also, the message to the daughter, your hobby caused you to lose your stepdad. Super messed up. Even if it were true, I wouldn't tell a kid that. Does your daughter want him in her life still? And you told her that he wants to divorce you because of her lessons? Wow. Yeah, you're the a-hole for that alone. That is honestly the worst thing you could do in a divorce. I can't fathom a parent inflicting pain on their child to hurt their partner. Both the daughter and husband deserve so much better than Opie. She's literally treating her daughter like a personal vendetta tool. No consideration for ripping away the man she obviously seemed to have considered a father. Legally, he has no right? Get out of here. Truly Mother of the Year. And by the way, knowing the culture around horses, I am very liable to agree with the father's version of events. Last story. Am I the a-hole for resenting my wife for not believing my side of the story? I, male 46, have been married to my wife, Heather, female 45, for 18 years. We have 2 kids, 16 female and 14 male. We work for the same company, but in different departments. She works on a different floor of our building. We recently hired a new employee, Sarah, female 30. I helped her a lot with her training and even prepared a guide for her so she could catch up on the new role quickly. I told her she could drop by anytime if she had a question. She kept coming to my desk to chit-chat. Even my coworker Chris, who shares an office with me, noticed. I thought she was new and lonely, so not a big deal. She asked me to go out for lunch with her. I laughed and joked, asking if Chris wanted to join us for lunch. Then Sarah looked at me and said no. She meant just us to talk. Plus, she wanted to buy me lunch because I'd been so nice to her. Chris gave me a look. I told her she didn't have to and that I was just doing my job. She insisted and I agreed. During lunch, she started rubbing my hand. I moved my hand and changed the topic to my wife, bringing her up repeatedly. She eventually said she found me attractive and wanted to be more than friends, suggesting we start with friends with benefits and see where it goes.
She said she thought I wasn't happy in my marriage because I was having lunch with her and laughing, while she never saw me having lunch with my wife. I told her I was married and wanted to keep our friendship professional. She didn't like my reply and became quiet. I apologized, but she said it was all good. I paid a bill for both of us since it was so awkward, and we went back to work. I received a letter from HR telling me they needed to talk to me because Sarah filed a complaint. She said I'd asked her out for lunch, been inappropriate and handsy, and even pressured her to sleep with me, but she left. I was floored. Luckily, my coworker Chris can confirm my side of the story. I immediately told my wife the whole thing and she got furious at me. She said she believed Sarah's side because she stands by the victim. I told her Sarah was lying. Chris can confirm she invited me. Also, I wasn't inappropriate. I didn't touch her and turn her down. My wife rolled her eyes and said Sarah is a gorgeous woman much younger than me, implying I took advantage of her. I was so annoyed. I've always been faithful to her. How could she possibly think of me like this? Luckily, the HR issue was resolved, and I just have to do some training. I asked to move to another team, so I won't be working with Sarah anymore. Am I the a-hole for resenting my wife for not believing my side? For taking her side without any proof? I basically barely talked to my wife since the incident. This will get lost in the sea of comments, but I'm wondering if the restaurant has a video recording of the dining area. You could prove you're telling the truth really quickly with a recording of her getting handsy and you pulling away. I'm gonna check with the restaurant. It's a small cafe/restaurant within walking distance of our office. Speaking of intel, I wonder what her behaviors/performance was like at her previous jobs. The fact she pursued you and then reported false accusations to HR this quickly into a new job suggests a level of diabolical confidence in my opinion. A reckless immaturity, I guess. Regardless, something ain't right, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was some kind of MO for her. I don't know how you could safely investigate her past, but something to think about. Not the a-hole, obviously. This is just a perfect example of the double standard that men deal with in these types of situations. Your wife should know you well enough by now to know the truth. Several comments support exactly the conclusion you're reaching here. This type of lying/double standard can ruin someone's life so easily. It can, and it has. I'm a woman, and I think women who lie about things like this and destroy lives on a whim are one of the lowest forms of human scum. Not only is Opie a direct victim of this woman's reputation-ruining lies, but every woman who legitimately had something happen to her and was not believed is also an indirect victim. There should be harsh consequences for women that lie about assault. I understand why there isn't, but it's absolutely infuriating to see anyone do something like this and walk away from the wreckage with no repercussions.
Am I the a-hole for being upset and leaving when my sister-in-law stole my pregnancy announcement? I, 36 female, found out that I am pregnant. I am overjoyed as I've always wanted a child of my own. I focused on my career and my life, and since I'm single, I wasn't sure if having a baby would ever happen. I was excited to tell my family the big news. My older sister has one child, my nephew, 7 male. My brother is married, but he and his wife have made it very clear they will always be child-free. Last night we had a family dinner, and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to share the news. And since this will be my only child, I wanted to make it special, and I also wanted to involve my nephew. I got a shirt that read, "This is what an awesome big cousin looks like." I slept away with my nephew before dinner and had a special moment with him while I told him he was going to have a cousin. My nephew was very excited and put on the shirt. He put a sweater on over it, and I told him he could take the sweater off whenever he wanted at dinner. In the middle of dinner, he took off the sweater and waited for someone to notice. Soon my sister jumped up and excitedly screamed when she saw the shirt. They all then immediately assumed it was my sister-in-law. I wasn't hurt by them assuming this, and I kind of expected it because she is married. I was hurt because my sister-in-law didn't try to correct them. She just went along with it and began to rub her flat belly while laughing. I must have looked completely hurt because my mother yelled at me to stop being rude and to congratulate them. I tried to explain that I was the one who gave my nephew the shirt. They all didn't even hear me and just continued to fawn over my sister-in-law. My brother stood frozen in shock, just asking his wife if she was serious. I got up and went home. I received multiple texts at this point from them telling me what an a-hole I am for making this about me. They said things like it wasn't my sister-in-law's fault that I was jealous. I didn't reply to anything and just cried myself to sleep. This morning, my sister-in-law must have finally let it slip that she is not pregnant. And they have now all called me to apologize, saying that they just got caught up in the moment. They said I shouldn't have left the dinner, and that it's my fault I wasn't clear enough that I was the one who was pregnant. My mom said I could have a redo dinner, so I could get it right, and they will all act surprised. My sister-in-law sent me a message that said that the way I chose to announce was how she wanted to do it if she ever got pregnant. She said that since she's not ever having a child, that she just wanted to experience what the moment would be like. She also said I can have my chance at the redo dinner. I told them no, and that I will not be doing a redo. Every single person has now told me I'm being selfish and a nahal because I won't let them make it right. To me, there's no fixing this. I will eventually forgive them, but I don't want to do a second announcement so they feel better. Am I the a-hole? Now for some comments before reading the updates. If I'd ever do a redo, I would only do it with the rule that sister-in-law is not invited and isn't present, since she took something unique and very personal in a cruel way without showing any remorse. But I wouldn't do a redo myself anyway, since they ruined it entirely, and doing it again would just feel so ridiculous and fake. And this is not something I could forgive and forget overnight. I'd not talk to her again until she does something really big as an honest apology, and even then I wouldn't forgive that witch. I'm actually so mad for you. Not at a-hole. Your sister-in-law is trash for doing that to you, and to then try to justify it. That's just so hateful. I'm sorry, and congratulations. You can't redo an announcement. You can't put the cat back in the bag. The best they can do is apologize and stop blaming you for their poor behavior, sister-in-law included. First update 4 months later. I've had many people messaging me asking for an update, so I thought posting one here seemed like a fitting place. It has been 4 months since my last post, and it has been a wild ride. I'm now almost 7 months pregnant and expecting a baby girl. After everything happened, I tried going low contact with my family. I didn't want to deal with their drama and chose to instead focus on my pregnancy. That didn't last long because my brother showed up at my door a few days after the dinner with his suitcase. He needed some time to work things out, and I was happy to give him a place to stay while he did. My sister-in-law and other family members began calling both of us non-stop during this time. They were begging my brother to talk to his wife. Eventually, she convinced him that it was all a joke that just went horribly wrong. I knew this was total BS and that she was lying. My brother seemed so lost and broken without her, though. He went back home after staying with me for only a short time. Before I left, I talked to him about everything and told him all my concerns. He said that he loves his wife, and this was all just a misunderstanding. He told me I was cruel for holding a joke gone wrong against her, and that we both need to get over it. I couldn't force him to listen to reason, so I just let him go. After he left, I went back on low contact with most of my family and have been much happier since. I realized after reading the comments on my previous post exactly how toxic my family is. I decided to focus on the people in my life that were truly there to support me and my baby. While my parents keep trying to contact me, it has become less frequent lately. Yesterday, I received news that many of you had predicted. My sister-in-law is now pregnant. I found out when I received an invitation to her upcoming gender reveal Zoom party in my email. I haven't responded yet, and I haven't heard any news from any family other than the invitation. I'm torn between laughing hysterically and crying for my brother. I truly don't know what to think. Don't pet the dog that bit you. I'm conflicted. I do love my family, but I don't love the way they act. People who love you back don't tease, taunt, humiliate, or mistreat you. I think you love the idea of your family and not the reality. Because what could you love about the way they've chosen to treat you? This wasn't one word, one mistake, or even one bad day. This is a pattern of behavior that has probably extended since long before your pregnancy. You deserve better, and so does your precious child. It is so sad how many people think that having a baby will fix their marital problems. Newsflash, it won't. I pity your brother and I pity that unborn child. I recently read how these kind of jokes, although your sister-in-law truly went beyond the pale, are Schrodinger's jokes. If you get hurt/insulted, it is just a joke. But if you don't react, they were telling the truth/how it is the whole time. If you still want a relationship with your brother, you can text/email him that your door will always be open for him. But otherwise, I would not even respond to the invite. Or if he gets badgered, say you can't make it. No explanations or excuses, just sorry no. Second update 1 month later. My brother and sister-in-law's gender reveal Zoom party took place today. For the last few weeks, I had been debating on if I should attend or not. I had been doing well with being no contact with most of my family, but I couldn't seem to let go of the feeling that I was being selfish and not supportive of my brother. So I decided to reach out and talk. I think I decided this mainly out of curiosity, but also loneliness. It's hard being pregnant, alone, and stuck in letdown. I reached out to them online, and my brother and his wife are definitely pregnant. They started to try shortly after he returned home from staying with me. My sister-in-law told me that my brother changed his mind about having children after a long talk they had about their future. I personally think there is more to this story, but I don't have all the details on this yet. They did tell me that they were sorry about what happened with my pregnancy announcement. My brother asked me if we would all just move forward and if I would come to their gender reveal. I agreed and decided to let it go. I also started to speak with my parents again. My parents did not apologize for their part in what happened at my pregnancy announcement. They did not even really acknowledge that anything had happened at all between us at all. They don't ask me much about my pregnancy or my baby. They have only been interested enough to ask 2 questions. They ask what my child's last name will be since I'm a single mother, and what the gender is. I told them I will not be sharing the gender of my baby until the birth. Today was the gender reveal Zoom party. We were instructed to wear blue or pink depending on what we thought the gender would be. I chose to wear pink, since the only dress I own that fits me right now happens to be pink. As all the attendees logged on to the Zoom call, everything seemed to be going rather well. My parents were in head-to-toe blue, and said it was because they are excited that my brother is finally carrying on the family name. My sister-in-law and brother were dressed opposite in all pink. Everyone seemed happy and ready to celebrate. My sister-in-law had chosen to pop a large balloon filled with confetti that will reveal the gender. She popped the balloon, and out came a cloud of blue confetti. My parents began to cry and cheer at the announcement, and my brother and everyone else were smiling and clapping. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, was not. The next few moments were filled with all of the guests say their congratulations. My sister-in-law stayed perfectly silent throughout all of it. She seemed somewhat emotionless, until I piped up to say my congratulations. I had said to them both, "Congratulations on your little boy. His cousin can't wait to meet him." My sister-in-law went insane. She began screaming that I was trying to steal the spotlight away from her by mentioning my baby. She said that I was being jealous and petty over my birth announcement disaster. She then asked me, "What are you freaking having anyway?" She demanded to know the gender of my baby and began asking if it's a girl. She then said that I must be having a girl since I'm wearing a pink dress. My parents and other family members did little to stop my sister-in-law's meltdown. I chose not to fight with her or to try to reason with her. I just exited the call and let it go. I don't know what my sister-in-law's problem is or why she's behaving this way, but I don't care, and I'm not going to let things like this bother me anymore. It was a bad idea to break no contact. Now for some top comments before reading more updates. She wanted a girl, but she's having a boy, and she used you to release her anger. If you have a girl, she will act terribly about it. I am having a girl. I guess we will see what happens after I give birth. Probably another meltdown. Nothing if you keep that abuser away from the both of you, which beg you to do so. Same goes for the parents based on previous posts. To quote a previous reply from the last update, "Don't pet the dog that bit you." Please, you and your daughter deserve better. With people like your sister-in-law, the only way to win is to not play their game. Exiting the call was absolutely the way to go. Because you are having a girl, her behavior will only get worse. You do whatever is necessary to protect yourself and your child from their mistreatment. You don't deserve it, and neither does your child. Another month later, another update. I've posted on here a few times before. I apologize for this rant, but I just need to get it off my chest. I wish I could say that things have calmed down since my last post. Unfortunately, my sister-in-law's drama just seems to progressively get worse. So, my sister-in-law found out that I'm expecting a girl about 2 weeks ago. She found a gender by logging into my Amazon account without my permission and looked through my private lists. I had given my brother the login information for my Prime account so that he could watch a show he wanted to see. I had not expected her to log into the main account and view my private wish lists/past orders. I was extremely hurt and devastated that she went this far. She took another special moment for me because she went ahead and told the rest of my family the gender. She seems proud of herself for doing this and thinks she's justified because I was keeping secrets. She actually thinks that this is a funny story and blames pregnancy brain for any of her poor behavior. I finally snapped and told her what she did was appalling and deeply troubling. I told her that she has ruined every major moment in my pregnancy and that I cannot believe that she's proud of it. I told her she should be ashamed of herself and that I am embarrassed for her. I told that at this point, I won't be allowing my daughter calling her aunt because she doesn't deserve it. She had a meltdown after this and accused me of trying to get her to miscarry. She says this kind of thing a lot. My brother and other family members tried to jump in to defend her, but I made it clear that I will remove them from my life as well if they continue to defend her. They have since shut their mouths and begun to agree with me. My sister-in-law gave me a half-hearted apology and said that we need to make up for the sake of the kids. I do want to be a part of my new baby nephew's life, so I do feel a bit stuck in this situation. I agreed to just let it go and try to move on, but I made it clear to her and everyone else that they are on a very thin ice. Since everyone now knows that I'm having a girl, I have refused to tell anyone the name that I intend to give my daughter. I want to at least keep that part for me to announce when I have my child. I haven't even really written it down because I fear someone will find out. My sister-in-law has asked me many times, but I just tell her that I haven't decided yet. But this last week, she started sending me girls' names that she's calling dibs on. I reminded her that she is having a boy, but she seems to be in denial about that fact. She likes to say that we won't really know the genders for certain until the babies are born. Most of the names are ones I have no interest in, as we have very different styles. She sends me about 4 to 5 names off her list each day. Now, I generally just ignore her, but yesterday she sent the name that I will be naming my daughter. The name is my late great-grandmother's name, and I have wanted to use the name since I was a teenager. I won't be changing my mind about naming my daughter this name. I will be announcing it once she is born. I don't care if this starts a war, as this is the hill that I am willing to die on. I know this is just going to cause an issue when I share her name, but at least I have time to prepare for her meltdown this time. I want to be part of my brother and nephew's lives, but I'm starting to see that it's just not worth it. Now for some comments before the final update. She's sending you lists of names she called dibs on every day? OMG, I'm glad your family is at least coming around somewhat. Yes, every single day. I would be sharing her posts and telling people how psycho she is being towards you. Save her posts for proof. She's a horrible woman. I would block her number for a long time and tell your brother that you don't want to hear from her or about her. And it's up to him to keep the relationship between you and nephews. I'm not sure what you're planning to do for a baby shower. If you were having one, even on Zoom, I wouldn't invite her. She's mentally unhinged. Change any passwords you gave your brother. She can pay for any shows he wants. Stay strong and don't let them rug sweep her actions. Yes, I already changed my password and will never be sharing it again. Sadly, the damage is already done. Now for the final update 2 months later. My little girl is finally here and doing very well. She's so beautiful. It is more amazing than anything that I could have ever imagined. She's a handful already, but I'm loving every second of it. You will all be happy to know that I did not allow my sister-in-law to bully me into picking another name. My daughter is named after my great-grandmother, and it fits her perfectly. I announced my daughter's birth and her name in a message to my family while I was at the hospital. My sister-in-law wasn't happy about my name choice, and she was even angrier when she heard the nickname I chose for my daughter. It is a shortened version of her name that was also listed on sister-in-law's dibs list. She posted on social media about my daughter's birth, and in the announcement, she referred to my baby by a different name. She says that it's her own special nickname for my daughter. Thinks something like if her name was Grace, she decided to nickname her something like Jilly. It's very weird and doesn't even resemble my child's name at all. I told her immediately to stop and to call my daughter by her proper name or the nickname that I chose. I knew she was only doing it to bother me, and that getting upset would just encourage her more. She stopped for a short time, but never removed her social media post. I had my family over to meet the baby a week after I came home from the hospital, and that's when sister-in-law started up with her games again. She purchased a bear for my daughter with Jilly embroidered across it. After opening that stupid bear, my family members laughed and told me to stop being so controlling. They told me to get over it, and that sister-in-law's nickname is cute. They too started to use the Jilly name. I felt like I couldn't even name my own baby, and they thought I should just be okay with it. I realized then that none of them were ever going to change how they treat me. I saw that what I was allowing to happen was just as bad as what they were doing. I was allowing myself to be belittled, hurt, and used time and time again. The family members who did nothing are just as bad in my opinion because they've never even tried to defend me. I have put up with a lot from my family in the past. I have had to get over so many past issue and pain because I pushed it past in the name of family. Now this was all happening again. But this time it was in front of my daughter. What if they started treating my daughter the same way when she is older? So I threw the bear in the garbage in front of them and told them all to leave my house. They are all just as bad as sister-in-law in my opinion. I couldn't bring myself to yell or scream, but I stood firm. I removed my daughter from my mother's arms and showed them all the door. There was a lot of name-calling, but I stood my ground. I'm done. I haven't spoken to them since, and they haven't even tried to contact me. I intend to write a letter or something to them to say everything I feel. I feel like I need that closure, but I intend to go no contact with all of them from now on. I have spoken to my boss and there's an opportunity for me to move out east to work in a new branch of the company. I intend to accept the new role and move during my maternity leave. My plans are not final yet, but I believe that a fresh start in a new place could be just the thing I need. I need to do what is best for myself and my daughter. Regardless of family or anything, I'm extremely happy right now. My daughter is the greatest little baby imaginable. I am so overjoyed to be her mother. Thank you to everyone for all the help and support I received on here. I'm extremely grateful for all the advice and kindness that I received, but I hope that I never have the need to post on here in the future. Thank you everyone, and I wish you all the best.